Hello and welcome to another video of the Black Ice Draft League. This Dumbness here, and I will be going over a little bit more detail of the Black Ice Draft, the schedule, how it's going to play out, as well as where to find more information about it, how to join Black Ice, and follow along in other events that we do in the future. Perhaps you would like to join as well. We'll be welcoming you very soon, I hope. Without further ado, we have the schedule. It is a 12-week draft starting July 12th. So the first 2 weeks of that draft are, well, drafting. So that is going to be coming to an end on July 26th, which will be week one of the round robin. Our bans are Floette and Mega Floette for the reason that you cannot obtain them strictly through Pokemon Champions. You must import them from Legends ZA. We do have newer players to competitive Pokemon in the draft and felt it would not be a fair experience for them to have to play against something that they cannot practice against necessarily, or at least not have access to. The draft is 100 points to draft 10 Pokemon with a scale of 1 to 20 for the Pokemon value. You can go see all of that in the draft review video. The draft is over. All the teams have drafted their teams, drafted their Pokemon rather. If you want to check that out, that video does exist already. Other than that, we do have a schedule. So week one is going to be July 26th, this Sunday. I will be going against the guild leader Trixie. Week one, the team looks terrifying, has Mega Metagross, Mega Swampert, Pelipper, insane range shenanigans. I have devised an insane strategy to try to come up and beat it, but alas, that's not where we're at. This schedule is here to give you an idea of how things will play out over the weeks, so you can follow along, prepare whatever it is that you plan on doing. And you can see on the left, we have week 8 and week 9 for qualifiers. Week 10 is championship. Week 8 is going to be a series of essentially double elimination. So depending on how well you did in the first 7 weeks of the round robin, you will be placed in the top seed or the bottom seed of week 8 if you're top 4. Top seed will have the winner go directly to the championship. The loser of the top seed will go to the essentially losers bracket, which is the second chance qualifiers. Whoever wins the first round of week 8 will battle the loser of the top seed of week 8 in week 9 to determine who the second player for the week 10 championship is, and that will be the championship match. Obviously, we'll get there when we get there, but we're not there yet. So, this is my team that I drafted. It was a snake draft. I was towards the bottom. I think I was 6th out of 8th pick. My strategy was to pretty much acquire power that I was familiar with. I used King Gambit and Basculegion a lot. Obviously, the 20 pointers were the stars of the meta. Very familiar with how to use all of those Pokemon. King Gambit is a common strategy that I use in my teams. I've switched it up a couple times, so I was happy to get that. As far as Basculegion, it is not a Pokemon that I use a lot, but it is a pretty straightforward Pokemon, and I had the opportunity to snag a second 20-point Pokemon for my roster. I felt that was pretty big, so I went ahead and took it, and with that Basculegion male pick, I believe I closed out the 20-point brackets for the draft. So I did draft two very, very strong meta Pokemon. Basculegion, again, a pretty straightforward strategy, so it is easy to prepare against, but do you have the power or defense to, work around it is the real question when it comes down to these things. Because obviously you have to start playing with, lower Pokemon than meta. After those two, after clearing out the 20-point bracket, I went with Mega Kangaskhan. My reasoning here was that it kind of cleared out the core. I have a ghost type, normal type, dark type core, so they all kind of are immune to each other's weaknesses. That's pretty much my reasoning here. I wanted to secure kind of a special attacker for cheap. I didn't have a lot of points to play with left, obviously. When you spend 60 of your 100 points on the first 3 Pokemon, the rest of the draft gets really scary really quick. Obviously, I'm going very physically heavy with my first 3 picks. Lucario is kind of a balance for that. I can go special with it if necessary. It can also go physical, so it's good in those senses. I did not secure the Mega because, again, that's too many points for what I've budgeted out. But I felt that was a pretty good pick to go into a special direction. From there, I secured Liepard, the second fastest prankster in the meta, behind Whimsicott, of course, which was originally going to be my first pick, but of course, Whimsicott was picked first. I think it was number 3 overall pick. Anyways, Liepard also fake outs. Liepard has some fun tricks. It's still pretty fast. It outspeeds a lot, especially in a draft format. I don't have to worry about everyone running Aerodactyl and things like that. So Liepard has some prankster strategies that I can use to control the tempo of the game. I didn't really focus on Trick Room or anything else like that. No Tailwind. Those aren't necessarily my strategies. I can do that with my next pick, Altaria. I went with a bold 1-pointer pick for my number 6. That is, again, mostly to cover a lot of the weaknesses that my team shows. Altaria, just a really good pick to go against those things. Altaria, even without Mega, is pretty bulky. Comes with Cloud 9, so I can counter weather teams. For some reason, I was under the opinion that more teams had weather. I felt like at least 3 teams had like a solid weather buildup, but in hindsight, it looks like there's really not a lot of weather out there to be worried about. But at the end of the day, Altaria is still a decent switch in if I need to protect one of my banger 20 pointers. I'm not too worried about that pick. I think it was still a good pick overall. For my next pick, number 7, was Blastoise. Blastoise, again, covering weaknesses. Also a good special attacker. Bulky. I think bulky, personally, is going to be a very big deal for a draft. When you're not dealing with every single team running Sneasler, King Gambit, Basculegion, Mega Charizard, all these super strong, heavy-hitting, physical and special sweepers. Bulk gets to shine a little bit because you get to, play against lower bracket Pokemon that are just not physically or especially powerful enough to make a dent in the meta. You're going to have to play against those anyways. Pretty much a decent strategy. I went with that for Blastoise. He's bulky. He's got really good special stat. And, just kind of overall covers weaknesses in my team. Allows me to get more damage in. Pretty much where I went with that. Also, you can go with Shell Smash and things like that. So, base Blastoise, not that bad of a pick. It was out there. I took it. Meowstic Male, which comes with Mega Meowstic. Now, at this point, I again am focusing on speed control. So, Prankster Meowstic. You don't get that with Meowstic Female. So I couldn't save points on getting Meowstic Female and Mega Meowstic or anything like that. I had to get Meowstic Male, or Prankster, and things like that. Really good things for like weather setting, Trick Room, even Psychic Terrain. Just really good. A second Prankster. I went with Meowstic as a second Prankster because I pretty much wanted a second Prankster option just in case Liepard did not stand out as like a good pick against the team. So Meowstic was like a secondary Prankster pick for speed control, which I think is something that's going to be very important for my team. It doesn't really stand out in one way or the other. Again, I'm not really focusing on Trick Room. I'm not focusing on Tailwind. I don't have super speedy picks. So I'm really middle of the pack. I need something to do speed control in some other way. So I'm focusing with that on priority through Meowstic and Liepard. My next pick was Pikachu, which I solely picked because Pikachu has a unique item for Lightning Orb that allows it to double its attack and special attack stat. I felt like in a draft format, again, that is a really big boost. I felt like Pikachu was undervalued at 5 because of the fact that you can put a Lightning Orb on it. It's not going to share an item that you really want to put on like two Pokemon because you're just going to want to put the Lightning Orb on Pikachu. You're not going to want to, fight who's going to get the Scarf, who's going to get the Life Orb, things like that. So I felt like it was a safe pick for a draft format where you have 10 Pokemon that you're whittling down to 6, and then you have to pick 4 to bring in. It just felt like Pikachu is a really powerful hitting slot, coming into the end of the draft to really round out. Again, my special attackers, Pikachu kind of feels like a really good, powerful punch if I can get through like a fake out, or if I get my opponent off their balance. I think Pikachu can come in and clean up pretty well. And again, for Arbok, my final 10th pick of the draft was essentially for Intimidate. That was what I wanted. I was not worried about Intimidate for pretty much the entire draft because Incineroar didn't make it as a pick until round 9, I think. I think it was the 8th or 9th pick for a team. So I was pretty happy throughout the draft to see that Incineroar wasn't drafted. Obviously, I have Kingambit, so seeing Incineroar drafted would be nice. But it's a situation where I'm the only Kingambit user. So if someone does pick Incineroar, they're simply not going to bring it against me. But with Incineroar being picked, I felt that there was a lot of Intimidate going around. I wanted a pretty decent Intimidator. Arbok has a pretty strong gunk shot. We'll see if Arbok comes through with any secret surprise plays. As the last pick, 2-pointer, not really, a strong consideration for my team. I just had 2 points left. I was looking at the 2-point bracket, and Arbok stood out to me because it did have the potential of Intimidate. It has a pretty strong gunk shot. It has options, and I felt that it had options in directions that I did not currently fill with my team. So just an overall well-balanced pick for my final slot. And that's it. That's my 10 for my team. Now you know. That doesn't mean I'm scared to get a little bit crazy with my selections on what I do with these Pokemon. I'm looking at every potential option that they all have to build a team that can do what I need to do to win the match. So expect a lot of crazy things to happen out of this team. And there you have it. That is the Boca Raton Raticates draft picks of Season 1 of the Black Ice Draft League. And if you want to follow along, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be trying to record as many battles as possible to get that going. Getting on the Discord server as well. Please join our Discord. The Black Ice Draft is not all we do. We're trying to expand as much as we can on events and getting Pokemon battles going on. So if you'd like to be involved in, a draft maybe next season or any other things going on in the guild, just join us, talk with us. Super friendly. We'd love to see you. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed, and if you want to follow along with our journey through our first draft league, stick around, please. I put a lot of work into this. I am the person who has done all the team logos and much else of the artwork. So this has been quite a passion project for me, as well as Trixie and everyone else involved. Again, thank you everyone for participating in the draft league. If you're a teammate, if you're a coach rather, and
Goodbye.